Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Thursday, January 23rd. Really nice price action today. We started in the red today, but interesting to see what that does to the market participants as it brought out some buying. You could see that there's a lot of green on your screen in terms of names that's closed or basically advanced after the open, which is this column. And I always like to see that to tell me if there's buyers in this market or if, folks are taking advantage of strength and selling into this market, basically if there's conviction in this market. So I'll get to a couple things here in this video regarding the overall market and what had momentum for the day. But before I do that, risk disclaimer in front of you, everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. So Bitcoin was all over the place. We had Trump speaking at a couple different events today. Very, very different without getting political. Very different than the previous administration where you just didn't hear much from Biden. He didn't take a lot of questions. Now it's kind of like, and again, I think anybody, complete, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I think that you're aware that you're getting a lot more information, and you're getting a lot more, questions being answered and so forth. I think both parties can kind of agree about that. All right, so Bitcoin was all over the place today. It was down about 2%. It's still finished down on the day, but at one point, it was trying to break higher. A lot of these things, it just, again, it reminds me a lot with the market jumpy when Trump was giving that speech at I believe virtual speech at Davos today. So this reminds me of like little buy the rumor, sell the news type of stuff, because Bitcoin all of a sudden like took off and was up. Bitcoin futures were up to like 106, 400. They couldn't quite hold the gains for the day, but nevertheless, that's still a gain. You could see right there of about 1% over the session to finish down only 1%. Biggest advancers, and SPY finished up about 0.6. SPY was just basically down slightly as we came into the open today, and it finished up 0.5%. That is a new closing high, so congratulations. Qs did the same thing. There was a little bit of a buy imbalance there at the end of the day, which caused the market to rally into the close. Very nice close for the day. But you could see IWM and microcaps again came up. Very nice movement from the open to the close. Bonds were down 0.75%. So again, I'm not going to talk too much about bonds today, but would like to see them kind of hold in here and not revert back to those lows. Let's see. I think there's some more news on the tape here after hours. Let me just see what that is. So interesting today, if you look at the best performers overall, and the names, of course, that went up, after the open, but solar had a very good day. Uranium had a very big day. I don't have a nuclear ETF in there, but certainly like the nuclear names were just unbelievable again today, and it's very interesting. It seems like the more that gets talked about with AI, different deals, and which is what this administration has been saying, is that they're going to be funding different AI research and AI studies and so forth. But what seems to be getting the biggest lift is anything that goes into like understanding that there's going to be needed more and more power for these types of projects, and that's really what's moving. So I'm going to start there. Before we do that, just looking at the S&P, and hey, we did get to new highs today. So I was even thinking today, and this is funny because this is how I come into some days where I don't have a lot of conviction for the day. And I said, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of pause here. A little bit of things that I said in yesterday's video about, possibly like pausing here, backing and filling a little bit. But, I ended up seeing some decent setups and some things. So that's kind of how it works sometimes when you don't have a lot of conviction for a day. If you're just taking note of where there's strength and what looks pretty good, sometimes trades will just kind of hit you in the face, especially as you're going through charts and you're doing your research. You could also look at option activity for hints too, right? Things like that. And it kind of just, just provided a little bit of what's the right word than just observations that there's a lot of good forming setup. So let's talk about some of those the bigger movers first. Oklo, again, that's a full-on breakout. We did see call activity in this name. We also did see call activity in, what is it, NNE, I think it is. NNE, yep, that's another one. So really impressive. Didn't close on the absolute highs, but I mean, this was up another 17%. So very, very strong. Some of the nuclear plays. Again, the nuclear plays are a little bit different. Here's SMR than the uranium plays, right? Which is more like a CCJ, and is more like almost like a CEG, which by the way, like CEG continues to, I mean, these names are just continuing to trend higher like this. There was a positive note out on CEG from Guggenheim. I think it was on their like best ideas list or something like that, but very strong. GEV tacked on some more gains today. Sorry, GEV. I think Kramer was bullish on his show yesterday. That's a very nice looking candle for GEV. I mentioned some of the solar names. So TAN, I still like. This is a tough group. It's definitely like, well, anything that's trending down is not something I'm really going to spend too much time with. Maybe that's a double bottom that's forming, but I don't really play in the sandbox too much of areas that are downtrending. One name that's caught my attention was BE. Sorry, we're still getting some things. Boeing is coming out with some guidance here, I think, and they're falling here. But but take a look at the candle here in BE. This is a name I've kind of gone back and forth with. I haven't been able to trade this one very successfully, I would say, over the last 6 months or so. But I did try this name today. I like the bullish engulfing candle on this. So very nice, and we'll see where this goes. We'll see if we have continuation in this one. So I would rather, this is more of a alternative energy type play, but I would much rather play with a name that's in an uptrend and looks pretty strong like this. All right, so there's news on Boeing. I just brought that up. They just announced preliminary revenue that's gonna miss 15.2 billion versus 16.7. Now we'll see how that goes for Boeing. It's a name that I continue to watch. I get a lot of questions sometimes on Boeing, but I just know that there's just always seems, for now, and maybe it will change, but just always seems to be trouble with this company. Every time it looks like it's decent, it just does these types of things, or it has some type of a problem. Now it is coming back here, but again, I've been talking about how strong the aerospace group is, and GE had earnings today, and they had very strong earnings. But personally, I would stick with the names. I don't think you have to really like try to be that clever and try to go after Boeing and think it's a turnaround story when you've got all these other names within this group. Look at what Rocket Labs did today, which is a part of this ETF as well. But look at Rocket Labs, little inside day yesterday and right back out to new highs. So again, I stay away from the difficult stocks, especially when it's in an easy group, right? This is such an easy group. Here's XAR, right? New highs. Many, many stocks in this group going out to new highs. So why go after the one that's so difficult? And I get it. It's the some traders, they want to go after the difficult names, right? I was talking about Celsius the other day. Traders, every couple of weeks, oh, what such a great setup. Stock just continues to make new lows. So I talk about this stuff all the time, and we'll see in another week's. Guy will be out there. What a great setup! What a great setup this is in Celsius, and it makes another new low. Um, Oh, by the way, if you're following people who are doing this type of thing, do not follow them, right? This is bad stuff. The number one stuff about technical analysis is it in an uptrend or is it in a downtrend? If it's in a downtrend, it's got problems, right? And until it gets into an uptrend, then like price is always correct. Don't argue with price. It's very, very, it's a lot simpler than you think it is. All right, moving on. Don't want to get sidetracked here. I wanted to talk about a couple other names here. I like this chart in Amazon. I have mentioned that I think Amazon runs into their earnings report. It was at one point, wasn't doing much today. It was an inside day, but I like this. I like what this name is doing, and I kind of like how it's acting versus its whole group. We talked a little bit about the nuclear names. We talked a little bit about the power names. I talked about BE, which is a new trade for me. I actually took profits in this one today. This is Talon Energy. This is the first time that I've traded this one before. Traded this on the breakout here. So very nice. But, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if you start to get a little bit of reversals, and which you probably may want at this point. What I like, and what you kind of get used to over time, is that when you like names like a VST or CEG, you actually want dips in these things, or you want them to kind of come down and see some profit taking, because then they'll set up again. All right. So that's one group I thought was interesting for the day. Twilio is out. There's a story out with them after hours that they're increasing guidance sideways, 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 and trying to break higher. Right. This is up to 126 here after in the after hours market. So very nice move in Twilio. Just a couple other names to go over on our watch list. I like the strength in a few of the shoe companies. Deckers is breaking out. Right. So very nice move here. Also, these are all like similar type patterns, right? Uptrend, sideways, right? That's where you should be hearing what a great setup this is, right? Side or big up move, sideways, and then break higher, right? ONON, another one that continues to deliver. It didn't have such a great candle yesterday, but looks pretty decent. Another name that I have my eye on is Burlington, outside of shoes, right? This one's not ready yet, but again, notice the same type of thing. Sideways, sideways, sideways. We're still in a bull market, so I would think that this resolves higher unless they get some type of a news, but I would watch for a break above that, call it like 293.50 level. Let's see a few other things. I did go long some Apollo today. KKR made a new high. This is a name in the TTG trend portfolio. Very nice close. That's the strongest in the group. I also like, here's Blackstone, right? Because remember, the financials have been super strong. What hasn't been strong recently is the private equity names, and all these names had real big moves in 2024, but they've been consolidating. Apollo didn't close exactly how I wanted it to close, but we'll see if it can break into that value area tomorrow, as I'm liking what I'm seeing in this group. Guys, I think I'm going to leave it there for the day. Have a great night, and we've got one more trading day of the week, and we'll see how it goes. Have a great rest of your night.